1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I missed that day at school. I can start on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Now I can't see you. I mean, the lights.
Am I good, man?
Now, are you calling for me now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Is that right?
Y'all stayed on.
Yeah, I
y'all
couldn't
did it.
see you.
Y'all
I
stayed.
didn't know what you were doing back there. Stand on that side so that, I can see. I'm not sure if that's the lights of my eyes,
Your hands all rusty.
but I'll blame it on the lights.
God.
Miss Sparkle Johnson and Pastor K. Walker. That's right. Overcoming domestic violence.
That was a good interview you did on the radio. I probably didn't get to see the whole thing, but just what was placed on the Pastor Tarver put it on our group me feed, and that's where I seen it. And I saw that, I said, oh man, I need to get in touch with her. She said, well, she be down there. Do you work at the Kingdom?
Yes.
Oh, okay. She said, that's what she said.
Yeah, Pastor Sunny, she's really nice.
Yeah.
I think the world of her. My children do too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they come to some of the Fairfield Kid festivities,
Yeah, that's
like
good.
Vacation Bible School and stuff.
Right. And what do you do? Can you cook down there?
Thank you and welcome to the show this morning. The topic this morning is overcoming domestic violence. And we're fortunate to have with us to talk about the issue of overcoming domestic violence, Ms. Sparkle Johnson and Pastor K. Walker. And of course, I think Pastor Walker and Ms. Johnson, I don't think that we have to say anything about either of the two of you, because we're going to talk about what I consider to be a very, very important topic this morning. And Pastor Walker has talked to us on many occasions about this same topic, and we're glad to sort of initiate you into the fraternity of individuals who are concerned about some of the issues that we are dealing with. But during this first part of the program, Ms. Johnson, let's have you to give us some information about your background, your education, and some of your experiences, and Pastor Walker will do the same, and then we'll be out of this first segment. But let's talk about Sparkles Johnson for a while.
Yes, sir. So I grew up here in North Nashville. I went to North Nashville Zone Schools. I graduated, however, from Hillsborough High in 2003. I'm a mother of 5, 4 biologically. I come from a big family. I have 9 siblings. I'm the oldest. And my children ages are 4, 5, 6, 14, and 16. I now am a nonprofit advocate for domestic violence. The name of my nonprofit is Super Women Inc. I also, above doing advocacy work and nonprofit work, I also reach out locally and personally and support victims, domestic violence victims of today. I was in a domestic violence relationship for 6 years, and I've been a survivor now for 3 years.
Very good. And so, Pastor Walker, we've talked on this show about domestic violence from many perspectives. And I think that our audience is familiar with many of the things that we've said in reference to that. But let's sort of, over the next couple of minutes, instead of just simply introducing you, and I think that most of our audience know you, let's talk about this issue of domestic violence, why it's important this morning, and why you brought Ms. Johnson with you this morning.
Okay, well, Dr. Haney, first of all, I'm glad to be here today, just to share information again about, important information, topics that, a lot of times people maybe gloss over and don't understand it and stuff like that. And a lot of situations, they're critical of individuals that may be, I would use the word trapped in a domestic violence type of situation. And without that proper understanding and education about it, it's easy, I guess, for somebody to make the missed calls when it concerns an individual like that, or things like why you just don't walk away and that kind of stuff like that, and it's just I don't think it's just that simple, Then of course in my younger days myself, I was abusive myself in my younger days and stuff like that, I came up, I saw that kind of stuff, and it seemed like it was okay. Of course, when you do it, it's not, but it's still, it's the mindset that you had. And plus, I was young at the time and stuff, but of course, over the years, my life has definitely evolved from that many years ago. And I'm just, I'm glad to be here with Ms. Sparkle Johnson because, I heard her testimony, I heard her talk on a radio program, and I'm like, man, we need to get her on the show so that she can share it because, she laid it out there, in a way that we could all understand it, and, it's her show, We do have one thing in common, Ms. Johnson. You graduated from the high school that I got put out of.
Very good. And of course, what we'll do, we've got about a minute before our second commercial break, Ms. Johnson. But what we'll do, we'll give you an opportunity. When we come back, we'll have 8 minutes. And we'll give you an opportunity to give to us this morning by way of television the information that Pastor Walker said that you gave over the radio. And I think that he was so impressed with what you had to say in reference to that. Then I think that we will also be more impressed because we are now on what? Television.
That's right.
And you can indeed reach many more people. And so what we'll do, we'll take our first commercial break. And when we come back, we'll allow you the opportunity to start off that 8-minute segment and to talk about domestic violence from your perspective. And after that, Pastor Walker will sort of wrap that segment up, and then we'll come back to this final segment and talk about some of the many issues that are related to this issue of domestic violence. Of course, we'll be back with our audience following this very short commercial break. And Pastor, after she gets through telling what she has to say, then we'll let you wrap that segment up, and then we'll get back into that 10-minute segment.
Sounds good. So how long you have your nonprofit going?
2 years.
2 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we spent the first year kind of building and getting ready. Last year was the first year we actually put it out there.
Okay.
And started being active. And this year we are hitting the ground running.
Oh yeah, it's good. Yeah, talk about the kind of services that you offer. Yes, I work at the room in the inn in the homeless shelter. I always see women come in those situations a lot.
Thank you, and welcome back to the second segment of the show for today. We're talking to Ms. Sparkle Johnson and Pastor Kay Walker, and Ms. Johnson has given us some information in reference to some of the issues associated with domestic violence and how you might be able to overcome domestic violence. And so let's look at it from that perspective, Ms. Johnson, and give you an opportunity to tell our audience this morning anything you wish to say in reference to this topic, and then Pastor Walker will sort of wind us down for the end of this 8-minute segment. But it's up to you now.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So a little bit about my domestic violence relationship. We have 3 children together, and it started when I was 9 months pregnant with my first daughter. The first thing I would like to share with people, know who you're dealing with. I didn't know this man. I met him, and 2 months later, I was pregnant by him. So he smacked me to the ground for no reason at all, so I thought. And I later found out because as I was walking him to the door, he was leaving, and I was just going to lock the door behind him. His friends was waiting for him in the car. He said that he saw me looking inside the car at his friends, which is why I got hit at 9 months pregnant. So throughout the course, I just want to give a little bit of background. I tried to figure out how to leave, and should I leave, should I stay, because I loved him so much, and I tried to blame everybody else. You know, he's a victim of circumstance. He don't know how to deal with a good woman, all that craziness. But my children were witnessing all this. And the last attack was on Christmas night, 2015. And I came home. We were actually split up. And I thought everything was okay. I came home. He was in my home in the dark. And he attacked me for 3 days. He beat me. He actually beat me with a belt until it broke, calling me his slave. He raped me. And he wrote expletives on my forehead. And he videotaped it all. You know, stripped me out of my clothes, cut my hair. In random places, not like a style, stumping me in my head, and even forced me to put a gun in my mouth. Then he forced me into a game of Russian roulette. The gun was a .38 revolver. He put 1 bullet in, and he would spin it and pull the trigger. And every time it didn't shoot, he would just jump up, woohoo, you a lucky, you know, B word. And I remember laying on the floor as he was thumping my head. And he's a big guy. He's about 6'1", 243, 250 pounds. And he was thumping me on my head with his shoes. And it wasn't even hurting anymore physically. And so I thought I was going to die. And so the only thing I could say was, Lord, please don't let my children see me dead. Because they were in the very next room. This went on for 3 days. He would fall asleep, wake up, start over. I would doze off and wake up to getting smacked. So I was just like, Lord, don't let my children find me dead.
So that happened to you for 3 days?
Yes.
In your own home?
Yes.
With your children
in the very next room.
In the next room.
Mm-hmm.
And Pastor Walker, what do you say about that? I mean that's so extraordinary. Mm-hmm. That's hard to believe.
Well, when I said earlier, that there were early years of my life as a teen back in those years, I've been abusive, man, nowhere close to anything like that. That's a wicked, depraved mindset mm-hmm. right there. To be able to do some things like that, the things that she just described in terms of treating an individual that way, then you look at it, man, you try to figure why would somebody do that, And one thing I tell men a lot of times now is that one of our biggest issues is that we don't understand that crying will free us. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So what happens is through our insecurities, a lot of times, and through our pain, or being detached or losing that individual, that woman, You know, we want to, instead of dealing with our own pain, crying it out, you know, you cry when you was a little boy, you know, why not cry as a man, you know, cry it out, you know, and not, you know, the desire is to share the pain. That's what it is. Okay, I'm hurting, you know, so I'm going to share this pain with you, and I'm going to make you hurt too. But the only thing is, I'm going to make you hurt worse than I hurt, you know. So, you know, you find people in a situation like that just having pain, the inward pain of that individual being inflicted upon them. And there's no excuse for it, you know, there's no justification for it. And just like you were saying, you know, the things that you said to yourself, you know, to stay connected, you know, I love him and these type of things, you know. I guess a lot of people don't understand that, you know.
But just mere survival. For 3 days, you were under that kind of duress, and did you ever think about perhaps trying to? Wouldn't have an opportunity to call the police or somebody else, or what? I mean, you just.
Well, he took my phone, but at one point he left, and I was aching really bad. But my children at the time was 1, 2, and 3, and I told my 3-year-old to get her coat on. And I grabbed the 2 babies, and I didn't take any clothes or anything, but we had a trash bag full of Christmas items, because it happened on Christmas night, that we got from family and friends, and I was just gonna take that. And on the way out the door, he came back. And that was a whole nother fight. And that's when he put me in the car. He called one of his friends who I did not know. The only thing I knew about him, he was just out of jail, and made him stay there with my children. And he put me in the car with him to go take care of his business. He was a drug dealer. And put me in the car, and he was speeding, and was like, if I get a phone call that the police can come up there, he was like, I'm pushing you out this car. And so he just kept doing that stuff. But I eventually got out the next day. He wanted to say he was sorry. However, we laid down. He wouldn't let me leave his sight. We laid down, and he was watching like a marathon of the TV show Snap. And so that was really freaky to me. I was like, this is not over. So I convinced him. I was like, the kids have to go to daycare. I said, well, they're gonna send DCS to investigate why they're not in school. That's not true, because they're in daycare, but I wanted to get them out. So he told me to take them to school. I did. And I went and hid downtown in a secluded place, and I called the police and told them to come and meet me and what had been happening.
And so you finally called the authorities on him, and
As soon as I got a chance to get away.
well, now what happened in reference to that? I mean, is he still on the street?
No, he is now serving a 20-year sentence in prison.
I'm sorry to hear that, but that's as a result of that kind of act. Certainly, you probably were not the only person that he became involved with, or that he had an opportunity to wield his power over. I'm almost
Oh,
sure
no, I was actually, to my knowledge, I was the 3rd or 4th.
Okay, so we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. Girl, and then killed her mother and
Killed the mother and
father.
The girl, 13-year-old.
13-year-old girl. I mean,
Yeah, it's just it's a crazy mindset.
I mean,
Yeah.
what used to?
And it was just crazy, because I have 3 kids, and I was like, how can you do the mother of your children like this? And he was like, I'm gonna get your Social Security, and I'm gonna raise them myself. And I just remember thinking, God, you can't let that happen, because if he hit me, he's gonna hit them.
Yeah.
Oh man.
He didn't. I think at that time, I really believe the only reason he never hit them is because they were so little at that time.
Well, I'm so sorry to hear that. I don't know too much for it. We've got 10 minutes. What would you like to say in reference to some of these? I don't want to impose upon you or intrude in reference to some of your ideas and thoughts and et cetera. But what would you like to say? I want you to say what you want to say in reference to overcoming domestic violence. And
Well, I just want people to know that there's ways to get out, and there's people that's going to help you, and that it is a full life outside of it. A lot of times when we're in different messy relationships, some of the reason why we stay is because we can't imagine life without them because we've been around them so long.
No, we want you to say that.
Sorry.
You see what we're saying? And that's the kind of information we want you to talk to the people in reference to that and other folks who might be involved in similar kinds of situations, you see. So I don't know, Pastor Walker, I've been sort of an intimidated kind of fellow. Anytime my wife say boo, I've been jumping for 30 years, and so I don't know too much about it. But I've been violent and et cetera. We all are. It's just the fact of growing up. But certainly you reach a point one day that, that you gotta, and they reach a point where, you better not say that to me anymore.
Right.
And et cetera. And
Absolutely.
So, and so you'll have 10 minutes, Ms. Johnson, to talk about this because I can't say too much more about it. When a character like that would do, put a pistol in you, and Russian roulette and,
he was crazy.
That's not domestic violence. That's sadistic.
Yeah.
He ought not to be around human beings, period. That's...
Yeah.
Hey, boy, but you couldn't get away from him?
During the 3 days, no. I left as soon as I had the chance, and that's when I did what I could. No, he was on it. We laid in the bed together, and he was like, if you move, even if I had to use the bathroom, he went with me. He's like, if you make one wrong move, I'm going to kill you. And so I had to lay in the bed in the dark, and there was random elbow punches to the ribs. Every time he, I guess, woke up to turn over or something.
Where did he come from? Really, how did you...
He was, of course, he wasn't like that when I first met him.
Well, what made him like that then?
Well, everybody, they have a honeymoon stage. They portray to be something that they're not until they got you. And then when they got you, they reveal them true selves. But when I first met him, he appeared to be the man of my dreams. For a whole 2 months, he wouldn't talk to me.
We're missing all of this. Because that's important because if I can raise the question, I know I don't understand it all, and certainly there are other folks who don't understand it all, and folks who are probably getting caught up into the same kind of situation and need somebody to say something.
I guess the question would be what you think, was it something that maybe triggered that behavior to come out of him? Maybe, thinking, you're going to leave him, or you're showing less interest in him or something?
He said my mouth was too smart because I can't have an attitude.
Yeah.
What did he do? What was his... Did he work or go anywhere or have friends? Did you see him outside of where you were at any one time? And
throughout the 6 years, yeah.
Well,
this guy has some serious
he would.
issues.
Yeah, we went to family functions together, and to my family, he never really came around my family much, but when he did, he appeared shy and quiet, like he was when I first met him. Like he had flowers delivered to my job and food delivered to my job like every day for 2 months before I even knew who he was.
Hold it.
Yeah. Doc ain't gonna do all the show.
Yeah.
It's hard to get it all in the time.
Yeah, that's what I remember. Yeah, so we'll have 10 minutes. We're talking to Pastor Kay Walker and Ms. Sparkle Johnson in reference to overcoming domestic violence. And of course, Ms. Johnson has given us some excellent information in reference to some of the challenges that she had in her own personal relationships. And so, Ms. Johnson, let's see if we can pick up where we left off and give you an opportunity to say to our audience this morning some of the things that they ought not to do if they do not wish to become involved in the same kind of situation that you became involved in?
Well, as I stated earlier, you have to know who you're dealing with. When I first met him, he appeared to be the man of my dreams. He had flowers and food delivered to my job every day for like 2 months before I even knew who he was. Then when he revealed himself, I was like, you know, God, he did all these things and didn't want anything from me. But it was all a setup. And so, and when he appeared, we went out together. We didn't just stay in the house, and he was doing this all the time. Like, you know, like I said, my daughter's now 6. He fought all the time, but when we was out around family and friends, with my family, he appeared to be quiet and shy, just like he was when I first met him. And with his family, he was just kind of himself. They knew what he done, and they accepted it because he had done it to other women before. And so after the domestic violence, a lot of people say, why you didn't get out immediately or the first time? Well, I was still chasing the person that I met, the man of my dreams. I thought like I said, he was a victim of circumstance. So somebody done something to him, and he just need to see somebody's gonna stand by his side. All the while, my life was slowly leaving this earth, and my job as a mother, my purpose here on life was dissipating, you know? So in middle of chasing the old man that I met, I had to realize that was a mask. That was never him. This monster that I'm dealing with now is the real him, and I have to get out for the sake of me and my children. Because during the attack, he had mentioned, I'll get your Social Security and raise the kids myself. I knew then he wasn't playing because he was in details. So, like I said, now, once you find yourself in that situation, sometimes we get tricked, we get fooled. You have to get up out of there. You don't have time to plan. You have to just do it. And I know that's a Nike slogan, but that's real life. Like, this is an emergency. There are several outlets out there. I have a nonprofit, Superwomen Inc. We support. You call my phone directly, and if I have to get up and come to you, I will. Of course, we have police escorts. I work closely with the police department and the DA's office, and Mr. Glenn Funk. We come to hospitals. We go to courts. There's also 2 other domestic violence nonprofits that reach out as well, because one person can't be everywhere at one time. We have Centoria Franklin with Past the Beauty and Candy Hawkins with Victims to Victory. And we all work together. We're not in competition because we're all here for one cause, and that's to help people survive, men and women, because men are victims as well. A lot of times, some women get comfortable with the system and they know they lean on our side. So with that being said, they end up going out here and taking advantage of these men. They know these men don't want to go to jail, and they just beating the crap out of them. And with free will, and they're controlling too. So this goes both ways. So we're here to be that support that a lot of times people are not really quick to go to a domestic violence shelter. Or people don't want to talk to someone with a badge. They want to talk to somebody who look like them, who can say, I've been exactly where you are and I'm here to help you. Because there is life without them. We get blinded by the love, and once we with them for so long, we can't imagine life without them. Especially when we have kids, like, oh, we have these children. We didn't have these children at first. What is life like without them? There is no life without them. But baby, it is.
What kind of work did this individual do? And I say that because, I mean, it was not just one long series of just rape. I mean, there was some other kind of interaction. Was there no other kind of interaction that you had with him after all of those years around? I mean, you didn't...
He was a drug dealer, but he also worked at a warehouse. He did warehouse jobs. Yeah, for legal reasons. I'm not gonna name the name of the warehouse, but he worked at a warehouse, but he was mostly a drug dealer. So yeah, I had interactions with him all the time. But he didn't appear, and I defended him. That's important to say. A victim will defend, because we don't want anybody to know that we're so stupid or we're so weak and we're dealing with this. And and if we love them, we're gonna defend them. That's love all the way around, if we're being abused or not. We're gonna defend our man, even if it costs us our life sometime. But it's time out for that. That has to stop, because too many children are burying their mothers.
Yeah, and so Pastor,
You know, Dr. Haney, I guess what I'm hearing is when that individual reveals themselves, their real self, you got to believe it. You got to believe it, and know that that individual, that picture that they showed initially, the mirage, the fake picture, that's exactly what it is. It's a fake picture. It's a fake image, you know. And when that true, real image come out, you have to believe it, male or female. You have to believe what you're looking at, because if you don't believe what you're looking at, then you're going to try to stay attached, and I guess, you know, try to use love to say, well, I'm going to find within this person that I met. You know, it's almost like the drug thing when you get addicted to drugs. You know what I'm saying? That first high you get, man, that's the one you chase for the duration of your drug addiction. You try, every time you get high, you're trying to get that first initial feeling that you got, and you never get it. It never shows up again. You get close to it, but it never shows up. So once a person reveals himself, who they are, you got to believe it. And then you have to begin to make the steps necessary to get out of it, because if not, you could end up a victim in terms of being murdered. And by the grace of God, you know, we're sitting here speaking and talking with Sparkle Johnson, hearing her share her story, because and she endured some horrible stuff over a 3-day period of time that could have easily, just one of those times you stomped her head, man, could have easily taken her life. You know, and right now, you know, I'm raising my two of my grandkids because of my daughter was murdered in a domestic violence situation. And I also got a goddaughter that survived the domestic violence situation by actually shooting and killing her abuser. So, you know, you have to really know, like you said initially, you got to know who you're dealing with. You know, and when you find out, when you get that information, you can't stay attached to it, because you know if you do, the rest of your life is going to be devastated. You're going to be wiped out.
Well, Ms. Johnson, what was the final thing that was a break, looking back over your career in reference to this, what was the final thing that made you leave?
Realizing that he wasn't.
That this was it, that you could not see him tomorrow or ever again. What was that? What happened that day?
It was those 3 days when I realized, you know what, he's not just trying to hurt me, he's trying to take me out. He has what appeared to be a spill-proof plan. I was like, he's not playing with me, so God, if you help me get out of this, I'm not gonna play with him. I'm gonna testify, and I'm gonna go to court, because I had him arrested before. I had him arrested, I think 6 times before, but I would never go to court, because I'm like, oh, now I feel bad. He don't need that. But no, he didn't care nothing about my life and my children. How was I gonna explain that to them? That how can I tell them that this is not how you being treated, but they seeing it every day? I had to be an example. I had to save my life so I can be a mother, so I can save their life.
And so this is what we call overcoming domestic violence. And you can truly say that in spite of any of the other challenges that other women have had to go through, that you doubt that any ever had to deal with the tragedies that you had to deal with. Would you say that?
I would not.
You think that there's something worse than what you've gone through?
Well, my story isn't everybody's story. So while mine is terrible for me, and to hear, I've heard some heart-wrenching other stories. So I definitely don't put my tragedy above theirs, because all of our tragedies can be triumphed.
Very good.
So, yeah.
Very good. And of course, let me thank you, Ms. Johnson, and you, Pastor Walker, for bringing Ms. Johnson by to us today, because I think that you have given us a new insight, and this ability to be able to overcome domestic violence is really a challenge. And of course, let me thank you, and let me encourage our audience to tune in again next week to another informative edition of Comments. Thank you, and good morning.